Hello and welcome. Have you ever wondered how many pairs of shoes you should have? We often hear of a capsule wardrobe, and that's focused on the core clothing items you should have to build your wardrobe around. But the clothes need shoes, right? So in this video, I would like to talk about what I think is a good shoe capsule collection, particularly if you would like to focus on buying better, therefore you buy less. I'm Anesu Sagonda and I produce educational luxury content for anyone after the finer things, whether you're young and starting out in life and wanting to reap the benefits of buying better quality from the get-go, or you're into luxury but you'd like to focus more on high quality under the radar brands, or you're new to money and wanting to learn how to navigate the terrain, then my content is geared towards you. A shoe capsule collection is heavily influenced by your lifestyle, age, and also seasons. Seasons, for example, I live in the United Kingdom predominantly, and we have very distinct seasons, winter and summer, and therefore you cannot wear winter shoes in the summer and vice versa. But if you're in somewhere like Zimbabwe, the country of my birth, you can wear the same shoes all year round because there isn't the big difference between the different seasons. Age, the needs of somebody 50s, 60s, 70s are different to somebody who's a teenager, 20s and 30s. And therefore, I've really been mindful of that with my selections. And lifestyle, depending on if you're somebody who's a student, you're working, is it corporate? Is it a little less corporate, less formal? Are you retired? So those are all things I have considered. And what I am actually going to be doing is using myself as the example to build my capsule collection. But please do feel free to tweak it according to your needs. The first category is home shoes. You're either somebody who doesn't mind outside shoes being worn in the house, or you're like me. I am absolutely non-negotiable on outside shoes being worn in the house. And that is because I live in London, in an area that's incredibly built up. And dog owners typically don't have gardens that are big enough to exercise their dogs. And so the majority of dog owners in my area will exercise their dogs out on the streets. And you will always get one or two of the dog owners who will not clean up their dog's mess. So invariably, dog mess will end up in your house directly or indirectly. Coupled with the fact that I live in a household that believes in the 5-second rule. So any food that's dropped is immediately picked up and eaten. So there's absolutely no margin for error in my household in terms of the floors always needing to be absolutely clean. I personally don't like wearing shoes in the house, but there'll always be 1 or 2 days a month where I'll feel like wearing a pair of shoes. And I have a dedicated pair of flip-flops that live in the house. They never go out into the garden. I never wear them outside at all. They always stay in the house. What I would recommend when it comes to shoes in the house is a pair of shoes that are clean and comfortable. If you live in a country where you have very distinct temperatures and you need something warmer for the winter, then a pair of closed slippers, for example. But the temperature in my house is fairly consistent all year round, so I can very comfortably get away with just one pair of shoes, the flip-flops, all year round. The second category is work shoes. And work shoes, I would split into 2 different categories. The first is corporate shoes if you're in an environment where you need to be suited and booted. So think, for example, heels and flats. I would recommend a pair from each, a pair of heels, a pair of flats, and you can wear those interchangeably. But if you're somebody who goes into work possibly 4, 5, 6 days a week, you have a fairly diverse wardrobe, then possibly a couple of pairs of heels, varying heights and colors, and also a couple of pairs of flats, different colors, to give you options when it comes to dressing up your outfits. But one pair of heels and a pair of flats, I think, is more than enough. The second option to the work shoes is the less formal. So if you work in an environment where you don't need to be suited and booted, you're possibly in a creative space, you work in an environment that's a lot more forgiving, then I would recommend flats, dress sneakers, boots, and loafers. And one pair from 2 or 3 of those categories, depending on your lifestyle and what you wear, is more than enough. I have a lifestyle that very comfortably can work with all 4 categories. So I typically should have a pair from each, but I have multiple pairs from each of the 4 different style options I have told you. And that is because I'm trying different brands all the time. But I think a pair of dress sneakers, loafers, boots, and also flats is more than enough. I might even throw in a couple of pairs of flats. So you have options, particularly if you're someone like me who likes color and you want options. But what you can find is the shoes from the work category, whether it's smart or the less smarter, can be used in other categories that I'll mention in a bit. The third is running around shoes. I work from home. And in the mornings when I get dressed, I always dress up. And then I spend the majority of my day in front of the computer. With the exception of lunchtime, I'll pop down to the kitchen. But I always dress up because I think it's important. And if you dress up, you look good, you feel good. And that comes through in your mood, your vibe, your energy, how you present yourself in calls or even on Zoom. The only thing is I will dress up, but then as you know, I like being barefoot in the house, so I don't wear shoes. But I'll always get the shoes I'm going to wear later on in the day when I pop out, or I do go out numerous times a week, and I'll leave those shoes by the door, and they just wait until I'm ready to pop out. But I always dress up, shoes are there and ready. But what I do is, when I'm popping out to run errands, for example, the running around shoes that I wear, because I dress up, and I dress up because I'm of the opinion that my day could start off fairly casually. I'm in the supermarket, the dentist, the doctors, the post office, for example. But what has happened so many times is someone will call and say, come over for lunch. I would like to introduce you to so-and-so. Or I will find out about an event, or I'll go in and see a brand and pick something up, or have a conversation about something that's just come up. I always make sure that every day I am dressed smartly enough so that I can go to any event. If anything happens during the course of the day, I can turn things around and go somewhere without feeling bad or having to come back home and change. A few years ago, I used to say to myself, if the king called and said, I need you to come to Buckingham Palace for a very quick meeting, I wouldn't feel bad. I would turn up and say, oh, I'm so sorry, Your Majesty, I wasn't expecting to meet with you. But what I'm wearing would still be fine. I think that's really important. And so running around shoes tend to be a little more elevated. I would incorporate within running around shoes, especially when I consider my lifestyle, the shoes that are in the work category, but the less formal shoes. So the boots, the loafers, the dress sneakers, and the flats. I'd also include in that other style options, plimsolls, sandals, and also elevated flip-flops. Elevated, I mean flip-flops that are made from leather or a material or design detail that just gives an elevated look and feel to the style. That's fairly casual. In the United Kingdom, we are experiencing increasingly more heat waves. I was in Paris a couple of weeks ago and there was a massive heat wave. It was an absolute beast. And I remember in the evenings, I had my leather flip-flops, and during the day, I dressed up smartly to meet with brands. And then in the evening, I'd just slip on the leather sandals. They're a lot more forgiving. My flip-flops were a lot more forgiving, but they still looked elevated with the whole look of my outfits. The next is smart. And smart, I mean shoes that I would wear to church, cocktail parties, weddings, funerals, dinners, for example. I would actually work with shoes from the work category, whether it's smart or the less smarter, depending on what you are wearing. That works really well with smart shoes. Work shoes, smart shoes, they complement each other very well. Professional and personal, absolutely fantastic. And then the next category is formal. Formal is more specific to me. I'd imagine a number of my other viewers. Formal, it's events I attend once, twice, possibly 3 times a year where I really need to dress up. It could be a black tie event, a charity event, a fundraising gala of some sort. It could be a wedding, a really formal, posh, elevated wedding. spread over a number of days and you need to wear different outfits. Then typically shoes from the smart work category. The vertiginous heels I used to wear in the heels, fantastic, or the high-heeled sandals are absolutely perfect for the formal events. The next category is boots. Boots, one pair is more than enough. I have a pair of boots from Churches I've spoken about before. I initially started with an aubergine pair. I had issues with them, and then I was able to exchange them for a brown pair. I really like the style. I like the comfort. I like the quality of the boot. Absolutely fantastic. And they are a style of boot I can dress up, dress down, and I tend to wear them all year round. Even in the summer, when it's not too hot in the evenings, I really like them. They're incredibly versatile boots. The next category is actually, I think, the seventh, and that is very specific to me, and that is hiking boots. Because I like hiking, I hike every 6 weeks. I have an incredibly robust, sturdy pair of boots. They're leather, they're waxed numerous times a year, they're waterproof. They're absolutely fantastic for hiking very long distances. I also have a pair of Wellingtons that are knee length, and I wear those when I'm out walking, not the long distances, but walking in environments that are muddy or if it's raining. One pair of Wellingtons, one pair of hiking boots. And then the final category is exercise trainers. I have 2 pairs of trainers, always have 2 pairs of trainers on the go. And that's because I don't like to wear the same pair consecutively. I like to give my trainers time to recover from the workout. And I also have a dedicated pair of flip-flops I keep in a gym bag, a bag I sometimes use when I'm going to the spa as well. I am absolutely horrified whenever I go to the gym every day, the number of women I see going in and out of the changing rooms, showering before work, and there's a lot of footfall. And I rarely ever see women wearing flip-flops or any form of protective gear on their feet. And you hear other women talking, or I know people who have picked up infections, verrucas, for example, from the gym. So I'm very anti not wearing something, and it's something I always encourage. Please wear flip-flops to the gym. This video was actually inspired by a comment that was posted against one of my videos, and in particular the video where I was talking about the 7 types of bags that you need. This is obviously focused on shoes, and I have a number of brands I'm still exploring, both within handbags and also shoes, because I would like to make recommendations for all of the different categories, but I would like a few more brands on board. So if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe, because I really will be bringing to my channel a solid selection of handbag and shoe brands that stand the test of time and that really offer variety.